Hey everyone, Michael Zuber here, one rental at a time, and it is Wednesday. And all of you know we have our favorite guest coming back in our expert series. That is Anna Kelly. How you doing, Anna?
I'm great this morning. How about you?
I'm doing very, very well. I got my coffee with me. I'm doing good. Got my dog at my feet. So far, so oh yeah, there you go. So far, so good. Let's see if he stays quiet. But what I wanted to
Mine,
talk, yeah, what I wanted to
mine's
talk.
right there. So sorry.
It's okay. No, it's fine. What I want to talk about today is we got some what I'll call positive news Monday. The vaccine news from was it Pfizer and BioNTech, basically saying, hey, efficacy of this treatment is better than expected. They're already planning for creation and distribution to first line responders, and then out to the general public if you want to take it. So what I look in that is you can't count out the American spirit, creation, innovation. That's what makes our system great. But more importantly, what I see for the first time is light at the end of the tunnel, right? You can argue how far away the light is. That's not important to me. The fact that there is a light is important. So my question for you is A, do you see it the same way? And then B, what, if anything, changes in your business, either your existing portfolio or new acquisitions? That's a lot there, but where do you want to start?
Sure. Personally, it doesn't change a whole lot, other than the fact that we are still being very cautious to say this thing isn't over,
Right.
and there's a lot of people that are like, okay, everything's bounced back as soon as there's a vaccine. We don't have to be as conservative on our underwriting. There's not going to be any more eviction moratoriums. We can project rent bumps again.
Mm.
And I think we have to continue to tread with caution until we see how this thing plays out, because there are a lot of additional new cases. The good thing is deaths are down significantly, even for the increase of cases, which is positive.
Yep.
But when we see an increase of cases, we start to see more shutdowns. And so, despite the fact that there's now a vaccine, which is hopeful, it could take some while for those vaccines to be distributed. And then the question is, how many are there? Who gets them first? Who has to get them? Are there states that have mandates or not? And until that happens and it's widely available, we're already seeing countries shut down again, and we're hearing rumblings of certain states want to shut down again. Mm-hmm. So more than anything, I think we have to continue to be cautious and say that for certain areas, me as a businesswoman, as an investor who owns rental property, I have to be cautious to say, I still have to be conservative and expect that some more of my tenants might be laid off. Yep. And I might have trouble collecting, for the foreseeable future until this thing is really behind us.
Yeah, I thought that's interesting. I hadn't thought of that. That's why I love asking this expert series, because I looked at my business and it's very much more residential, right? But what you brought up there is you're in the commercial market, much bigger deals, syndications, all of that. And it was interesting that maybe some folks in that market, probably newer, capital raisers, are like, hey, cool, let's go back to the old model, right? Let's do 3% rent increases, 95% occupancies, no collection issues or very little. It's amazing how, you can just revert back to the old world without really realizing that, no, it hasn't changed that drastically just yet.
Yeah. And I think, to your point, when you started, you said, our American spirit wants to move forward. We want to fix things. We want to fix problems. And that's a good thing for getting this thing behind us. So it's the same thing, we're in a recession, we're in a pandemic, but the stock market is still crazy high. And we have, single family home prices in many areas are still crazy high. Multifamily prices are still crazy high. Yeah. So we're operating on what I have said before is hopium. And I heard somebody else use that phrase yesterday. I was like, oh my gosh, I thought that was like my one unique thought, but we're operating still on hopium. So we have hope, but that hope has to be tempered with a little bit of reality that we're not out of the woods just yet. So let's be optimistic and hopeful, which I always am.
Yeah.
But let's give ourselves a healthy dose of, let's be careful, let's be cautious. We are in a recession, we are in a pandemic, and the pain isn't quite over yet. So let's just be really conservative when we look at new deals. Yep. Let's, build in some wiggle room, more reserves, a little bit higher vacancy and collections than we normally would. And then we continue to go on business as usual, hoping for the best and playing the long game, knowing the first year or so of a deal, there might be some pain, but after that, there's, light at the end of the tunnel.
I love that hopium. I'm going to try to figure out how to spell that. I guess it's just Hopium. Is that how you would spell it?
Yes.
Awesome. I suck at spelling. All right. I might use that in the title and give you full credit for that. That way it could be trademark for you. Hopium. So it's interesting that you talk about kind of, getting through this because, when I look at my kind of residential market, I'm actually starting to see residential possibly slow down. Now, obviously we're entering the winter, so it's hard to figure out, how much of this is just natural weather related, natural holiday season, kids are already in school, so that summer burst is over. Or if we're seeing people just get more conservative for buying homes. It's watching the market every day is just so interesting. You got so many variables to watch.
Yeah, I saw a headline. Full disclosure, I didn't open the article, but I saw the headline that says for the first time, mortgages are down, mortgage applications are down this last month. And so it tells you that it's slowing, the demand is slowing. Again, nationally, in certain regions, certain areas, people are moving. There's still this flight away from, some big cities. So there's still an uptick in purchases in suburbs, and housing prices have not gone down. They've continued to be bidding wars.
Yeah. I haven't asked you this question before, but it'd be interesting to get your opinion on this. When you think about eviction moratoriums, we'll talk about the CDC order, which expires on 12/31. We'll start there. Do you see that order being extended to, say, February, March, April, or do you think it just goes by the wayside?
Since it looks like we have a president-elect Joe Biden, I would say it's probably going to be extended.
All right, well, let's play that out. So he doesn't actually take office till January 20th, I think. Right. So does it expire and then get reenacted by the 21st or something like that?
I don't know. I haven't thought through the logistics of that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I know Congress is still in session, and
they just came back. Yep.
They came back, and it looks like it might be that the Senate stays Republican. And so I think if you still have a Democratic House and a Republican Senate, they're going to try to do something that's middle of the road. Maybe it's extended under certain circumstances. Maybe they pass more relief and another stimulus check. I'm just not sure.
Yeah.
For Trump, I can't see him extending his executive order when he's going to be out of office potentially a few weeks later. In full disclosure, we don't know. How are these recounts going to go? How are the lawsuits going to go? Is he going to be reelected because of a technicality and have a repeat of the hanging Chad and Al Gore? I just don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah.
But I think, even if nationally it expires, I think that a lot of the states are going to continue, as they already have, to put some type of, eviction moratoriums in place until we get further past the pandemic, especially if we have another round, God forbid, of shutdowns.
Yeah, that's kind of where I sit, right? I think nationally it expires. I think the CDC order, it really lost its teeth when they actually said you can start evictions, because that was a clarification. You could start, but you can't actually take people out until January. So I think the CDC order goes the way of the wayside. But you're right. That just puts the power back in the governor's hands, each state. And I know I'm in a state that I fully expect our governor to extend eviction moratorium. My 100% guess, just pull it out of the air, is probably through the end of April, which will be over a year, be 13 months.
Yeah. And quite frankly, I like the CDC moratorium better than I liked what a lot of the states had. So the states that have yielded to the national moratorium, it puts the onus on the renter to prove that they really can't pay. And I like that because, for me, 98% of my tenants have paid, even through layoffs, even through unemployment. Most of them have paid. They have been behind, and that's okay. We're waiving late fees. We're letting them catch up. But, to this date, I only have 2 tenants who still are more than a month behind. One of them has proven, they're trying to work, they have an employment, and they've been making payment. And I just got my first CARES Act application signed to help them with renter's assistance. They got all the paperwork and they said, okay, we're sending you a check next week for 2 months rent. Oh. So that worked out really well for the tenant and really well for me. I was a little, skeptical at first about signing that, because then I had to promise I won't evict them for another 60 days. But it puts the onus on the tenant. I have another tenant who's kind of stringing it along.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, if you really need help, then you need to fill out these forms. Otherwise, you have the money, you're back at work, you're just choosing not to pay because you know I can't evict you.
Right.
And so the communication is more tough with that tenant. But I like that the national moratorium says, basically, don't try to use this to screw over your landlord.
Yeah.
You're going to have to prove that you really can't pay. But if you really need the help, there's help there to help both you and your landlord.
Yeah, I have full disclosure. I have one that's been playing a game, clearly been playing the game since March. So their balance is up to, I don't know, 15 or 18 grand or something like that. I forget. So that's just going to go the way it goes. And I suspect it'll be 13 or 14 months, thanks to Gavin Newsom. And then we'll go through the full eviction. I'm positive they will ghost us the day before the sheriff lockout. And I will, we'll put a $20,000 or $22,000 hit on his credit, when this is all said and done. And it's sad. So that's evictions. What about forbearance? Do you see forbearance being extended? Right now? It was in the CARES Act, it was a year. Let's call it March 31st being the year mark. Do you think that gets extended?
I think it's probably very similar to the eviction moratorium. If they extend one, they're probably going to extend the other.
I agree.
I don't know that they'll just call in and say you're impacted and you get a forbearance.
Yeah.
Hopefully by now it says you've got to prove that you've been laid off and you can't pay, and we'll give you a little longer to do it.
Yeah.
But I think in general, they're really pushing for help people who've been laid off, who can't afford housing, whether they own or whether they rent.
I agree with that. And then when I put this all together, I can't see any of this help or assistance or whatever you want to call it. I can't see it in my mind extending past June of next year, right? Just putting together all the good news, because the economy will be picking up. There'll be infrastructure, this and that. And we've eventually got to put this all behind us, which means also the help, right? So some people will be impacted. Some people have to move. Some people, will lose their home. It's part of the cycle. Not trying to be insensitive, but in fairness, I think it'll be a lot smaller than people are anticipating. I think there will be, it'll be half or a quarter of what people are fearing, right? All these fear mongers. Oh my God, there'll be millions of people that lose. I don't think it's going to be that bad.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope not. Again, I'm an optimist by nature. I really am. But I also see companies starting to just now start to go, okay, we're not coming back from this, and we're about to have big layoffs. And so I still think that, especially if there's another round of pandemic deaths and toll rises and shutdowns, you could see more layoffs. I don't know that necessarily means that there's going to be extensions on forbearances and moratoriums, but I think there could still be some pain in the economy that we haven't quite yet seen. So I'm not quite sure if I see June as like the recovery point, but I am optimistic that, as this thing goes, hopefully there's more and more positive news every day.
There you go. Well, we'll leave this step one right there. We'll go to the other side of the coin here in video number 2. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.